Hey, third grade. I'm going to read to you from chapters 38 to 41 from the Wild Robot. I actually have two dogs on my lap. Here's Frankie. He's such a snuggler. Oh, stop growling at your brother. And you're probably going to hear some growling because here is Rudy. Can you hear them growling at each other? They get mad at each other sometimes. Can you hear them singing? Sing to each other. Sing. Oh. So these are my crazies. You saw the one the day Mrs. Gordon had to take him to the vet. So here we go. We are going to read 38 to 41 from The Wild Robot. Chapter 38, The New Friendship. Chit Chat wasn't speechless for long. She'd already been alive for a whole 12.5 weeks. And she wanted to tell Bright Bill about every exciting thing and every boring thing that had ever happened to her. And so, as the new friends played and explored and ate together, the squirrel shared her stories. I was born on the other side of the hill, and then last week I decided I was ready to build my very first dray, which is what you call a squirrel nest. And now I live in that tree with a weird bump in its trunk, she said while the two of them kicked pebbles into the pond. One time, a weasel chased me through the treetops until she missed a branch and fell all the way down and crashed into a bush and walked away all wobbly, and he never bothered me again, she said, while the two of them crawled through the hollow log. Ew, gross. I saw you eat that ant one time. I ate a gnat by accident, but I didn't like it at all. I mostly eat acorns and bark and tree buds, and sometimes the yummy berries that grow on your garden, she said while the two of them took a snack break. But Chit Chat was a good listener as she was a talker, and whenever it was Bright Bill's turn to talk, she'd keep quiet and hang on to his every word. Do you know who enjoyed their conversations the most of all? Our robot Roz. The protective mother was never far away, and she felt something like amusement at the silly conversations she overheard, and she felt something like happiness that her son had made such a good friend. Chapter 39, The First Light. Bright Bill had spent his entire life by the pond, and he was becoming very curious about what lay beyond his neighborhood. So one day his mother said to him, "Let us go for a walk, and I will show you more water than you can possibly imagine." Roz placed the gosling on her flat shoulder, and the two of them set off across the island. They marched out of the forest across the great meadow and climbed uphill until they were at the top of the island's western ridge. Before them was a grassy slope that descended all the way to the dark, choppy waves that surrounded the island. "This is a lot of water," said the wide-eyed gosling. "I am a good swimmer, but I'm not good enough to swim across the pond." "That is not a pond," said the robot. "That is an ocean. I doubt any bird could swim across an ocean." Waves rolled in from the horizon. Seagulls circled above the shore. A steady breeze blew up the slope. Bright Bill's yellow fluff had recently changed over to a coat of silky brown feathers, and he spread his feathery wings into the breeze. And then, "Mama, Mama, look!" For a briefest of moments, the wind flipped Bright Bill off the ground, but he quickly tipped backwards and thumped into soft grass. "I was flying," he squeaked. "That was not flying," said Roz, looking back at her upside-down son. "Well, I was almost flying. I'm going to try again." "I have observed many birds in flight," said Roz. "Sometimes they flap their wings quickly, and other times they fly without flapping at all. They spread their wings out and soar in the wind." "So I was soaring," said Bright Bill. The sun is coming in really bright. Hopefully you can at least hear me. "Almost. Look at that soaring seagull. It seems like she is not doing anything, but if you look closer, you will notice that she is making small adjustments with her wings and tail. I think you should try adjusting your wings in the wind like her." Bright Bill hopped onto a rock and opened his wings wide. "The wind is pushing me backwards." "Change the angle of your wings," said his mother. "Let us see what happens when they slice through the air." Bright Bill slowly angled his wings downward, and the more he turned them, the less the wind pushed him backward. And just as his wings leveled off, "Mama, look," he squeaked as his feet left the ground. "I'm soaring! I'm soaring!" He's hovered over there for a second, rising a little higher than before, and then he sailed backward into the soft grass again. The gosling kept hopping onto the rock and kept riding the wind and kept tumbling into the grass until he started to find his wings. With each attempt, he floated a little higher and a little longer, and finally Bright Bill really did soar. He lifted high into the air and hung there floating. He turned his wings down and felt himself drop. He wiggled his tail feathers and felt himself veering back and forth. "I'm a natural," he squeaked. "You are doing very well," said Roz, "but you need to keep practicing." And so they spent the afternoon practicing on the ridge. Once Bright Bill was comfortable soaring, he tried flapping his wings. He flapped high into the air. He flapped in straight lines. He flapped around and around in circles. A big smile appeared on the gosling's face. Clearly, Bright Bill was designed to fly. "I'm flying, Mama. I'm really flying." Here's a picture of the robot and of Bright Bill. Figure out what to do with that sun. "You are flying," said the robot. "Very good." Bright Bill was now a real flyer, but all that flying had worn him out. He lowered himself toward the ground and tumbled into the grass. His landing still needed some work. Roz placed Bright Bill on her shoulder and headed back to the nest. "I can't believe I can fly, Mama," said Bright Bill in a sleepy voice. I just wish that you could fly with me." And then the gosling's words were replaced by his quiet, steady breathing as he fell asleep. Bright Bill was a flying fanatic. This is chapter 40, titled The Ship. And his favorite place to fly was on the grassy ridge. The robot and the gosling liked to spend afternoons up there working on the finer points of flying. And it was on one such afternoon that they noticed something mysterious far out in the sea. Looks like a ship. Bright Bill spiraled down to his mother, flopped into the grass, and pointed to the horizon. "Mama, what is that?" Roz's computer brain found the word right away. "That is a ship." "What's a ship?" "A ship is a large vessel used for ocean transport." Bright Bill's face scrunched up with confusion. "Used by who?" "I do not know." It was the first ship either of them had ever laid eyes on. From the distance, it looked as though it was moving slowly, but it was actually racing through the waves from the distance. It looked as though it were small, but it was actually one of the largest ships ever built. The robot and the gosling watched it crawl across the ocean until it finally disappeared to the south. Where had the ship come from? Where was the ship going? Who was on board the ship? Roz and Bright Bill had many questions, but no answers. The next chapter is titled The Summer, chapter 41. On clear summer days, Roz and Bright Bill and Chit Chat liked to go exploring. They investigated the island's sandy southern point. They marveled at the rainbows that curved up from the waterfall. They surveyed the forest from the branches of tall trees. They met new friendly creatures, and sometimes they met new unfriendly creatures. But the only creatures they had to worry about were the bears. One time they came upon a bear fishing in the river, and Roz whispered, "You know what to do." Bright Bill flew up and away. Chit Chat scurried home through the treetops, and Roz melted into the landscape as only she could. Later they met back at the nest and told the neighbors all about their brush with danger. On dreary summer days, they stayed inside. Roz asked Bright Bill and Chit Chat about dreaming and about flying and about eating and about all the things that they could do that she could not do. But the youngsters had too much energy to sit still for very long. They spent one drizzly afternoon kicking acorns around the nest. Chit Chat piled them up, and then Bright Bill swung his big foot and the acorns went flying. The little friends chased the acorns as they bounced and rolled and spun across the floor. They Then they made a new pile and kicked them again. Sometimes an acorn would bounce off Roz's body, clang, and everyone would giggle and laugh together. Then Roz laughed. Ha, 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 said the robot, trying to sound natural. On clear summer evenings, they would sit outside and watch fireflies twinkling around the pond. Then they'd lie back and gaze up at the darkening sky. That big circle is the moon, said Chit Chat, and those little lights are called the stars. And one time I tried to count them all, but I could only count to 10, so I kept counting to 10 over and over, and I have no idea how many stars there are, but I know it's a lot more than 10. They're not all stars, said Roz. They're not all stars, said some of them are planets. What is a planet, said Chit Chat. A planet is a celestial body orbiting a star. What does celestial mean? Celestial means something that is in outer space. What is outer space? Outer space is the universe outside the atmosphere of our planet. What's the universe? The universe is everything and everywhere. Oh, so the universe is our island. None of them would ever really understand the universe, including Roz. Her computer brain only knew so much. She could talk about the earth and the sun and the moon and the planets and a few stars, but not a whole lot of other things. The sky was full of streaking, shimmering, and blinking lights that she simply couldn't identify clearly. Roz was not designed to be an astronomer. On dreary summer evenings, Roz and Bright Bill would curl up together, just the two of them, and listen to the rain pattering on the roof of the nest. The robot would tell stories of annoying pine cones and terrible storms and camouflage insects, but the sound of rain always made Bright Bill sleepy, and he'd be out before his mother could ever finish a story. And that's the end of those chapters. I hope you're enjoying the story. I hope you're having a great day. This sun is somewhat annoying. I guess I'm not positioned real well, but we've got dogs sleeping through it. So hopefully, even though you can't see me well, you can at least hear me. Have a great day. Love you guys all.